What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Ministry Hacks Leadership Podcast. My name's Nick Weiss, the host of this show, and today we're going to be talking about something that every ministry leader faces, and honestly, every human being faces and will go through, and it's this: seasons. Seasons of ministry is the theme of today's podcast, and so maybe you're feeling like you're stuck, you're tired, you're discouraged, right? That's a season. Maybe you're feeling you're fresh, you're full of excitement and vision. There's seasons there. Maybe you're in a season yourself of growth and excitement, which has kind of this growth is exciting, but then it also has responsibilities, which can be stressful. But here's the thing: wherever you are, whatever season you're in, I want you to understand that you are not alone. There are other ministry leaders who have gone before you, who have been in the same season that you're currently in. And there's many ministry leaders who are in the season that you are currently in. So you're not alone in this struggle. You're not alone in this season. We're all in it together. And again, ministry, we need one another. Don't go at it alone. Ministry is not meant to be done alone. Life is not meant to be done alone. And so even though sometimes it feels hard, discouraging, hang in there, don't grow weary, for in due time you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. And so recognize this, that whatever season that you are in, understand that God knows what it is. God has ordained these seasons, and God has a purpose in every season. So God has a purpose. So ask yourself this question as we start out today: what season are you in right now? Because you are in one, my friend. You are in a season whether you realize it or not. What season are you in? And then ask the question, start to pray too. God, what do you want to teach me in this season? Maybe it's more just intimacy with Him, right? Reading His Word, knowing Him more. Maybe it's delegating, the season of delegating. But whatever it is, God, what do you want to teach me? Maybe it's a humbling season that He's teaching you that you're not everything you thought you were, right? You're a human being. We're flawed and imperfect people, and we need God, a perfect Savior, to come and rescue us and empower us to be able to do the things that we can't do on our own, right? There's seasons for everything, and seasons are exciting, discouraging, all of the things, depending on the season that you find yourself in. And today we're going to talk about 4 specific seasons. Now, this is not all inclusive. These are not all the seasons that you might find yourself in ministry or in life. If you read Ecclesiastes 3, Solomon goes over a pretty extensive list of different seasons: a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to harvest, a time for peace, a time for war. And he gives a pretty good list, but even that's not all inclusive of every season that you might ever face. But what it's telling us is that there is a season for everything. And whatever you're going through in life or in ministry right now, it is a season. And here's the encouraging part: if it's a hard season right now, it's encouraging to know that seasons change. Seasons change. But also on the flip side, maybe you're in an encouraging, exciting season. Understand that seasons change. There's probably a hard season coming up eventually. And so how can we prepare for these things? And so today we're going to talk about seasons, how to recognize what season we may be in, and how can we grow and learn and thrive in the season we're currently in. And so season number 1, we're going to talk about the season of planting. The season of planting, right? Many of you, maybe you remember that season well. You're a church planter. You planted your church 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago, but you remember that season because it's very vivid, right? Because it's like, man, it was something. It was just a special time, but a hard time, a busy time, but a time that I think every church planter, for the most part, I think would look back and say, it was hard, it was difficult, but it was worth it. It was a sweet season at the same time. So there's a season of planting, and maybe some of you joining us today, you're in this season of planting where you're about to start, you're about to launch a new church, you're about to start a new ministry within your church. It's a good season, but it's the start, right? It's the beginning stage. Or maybe for some of you, it's the season of planting where we're going into a new leadership role that we've never been in before, and this is the first time, and it's a planting season. What this season looks like, right? Some characteristics of a season of planting: a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, a lot of vision, a lot of excitement, right? You know what I'm saying, right? In those beginning days, you're like, man, I'm just full of vision, excitement. I'm fervent in faith. God, you can do anything. It's going to be amazing, right? We're all pumped up. But on the flip side of this, what this season can look like is that we see very little visible growth. Feels like you're doing a lot of work with little return. There's no ROI, right? Return on investment. At least it doesn't seem like it yet. And in this season, there is a need for patience and perseverance. Patience and perseverance. We need these in this season, right? Because we can grow weary because we're doing a lot and we're not seeing anything, but we need patience. We got to wait, right? Wait upon the Lord, right? He's got a perfect time for everything. And we had to have perseverance. We got to have endurance. We got to keep going. And so the biggest struggle that I see in the church planting season is that you feel discouraged because you're not seeing immediate results. You're not seeing that ROI, return on investment. And we can feel discouraged, like we're not doing it right. And then the second thing too that we can have as a struggle is we feel discouraged because we're not seeing the results that we think we should see. But then we go scroll Instagram and we compare ourselves, our church, with other churches and other church leaders, and we see them thriving and growing, but we don't understand that they're in a different season than us, right? They've been through our season and now they're in a different season. And sometimes social media can be a tool and can help us reach other people, reach the lost so that people may know Jesus and help us to equip the saints. But it can also discourage us in ministry because we're looking at our friends' churches and their Instagram accounts, and it seems like it's rocking and awesome all day, every day. But you got to understand social media is that way, right? We're not going to go post, man, what a terrible, dry, hard season this has been, right? Sometimes you might see that on a rare occasion. But for the most part, we're seeing the highlight reels of people's churches and people's lives, right? So when you look at other people's social media, just understand that's not reality in the sense that that's all day, every day. That was one moment of their week, and there's 100 and something other hours in that week that did not look like that. So just don't do that, right? Don't compare yourselves to others. We got to be faithful. So how can we thrive in the season of planting, right? We got to focus on faithfulness over fruitfulness. Don't worry about the fruit, right? The fruit will grow. The fruit's a byproduct of faithfulness. If we can be faithful in planting seeds, and you got to do this, you got to trust that the seeds that you're planting today will grow in time. Now, it might not be, and it probably won't be next Sunday. Right? Oh, but I did all this work and prayed and fasted and studied, and I'm ready to get rock and roll, and our team's ready for it all. And you don't see that growth. Don't get discouraged. Don't compare to other churches that, oh man, they did all the same things I did, and they got all this growth and all these new believers and baptisms going on. Don't do that. Just trust, be faithful with what you've been given. Trust that the seeds that you're planting today will grow in time. Maybe it's a year down the road and you're like, what, a year? I got to wait a year to see some fruit? Maybe longer, right? A story that I want to tell you is that when we church planted, I worked at FedEx 6 days a week, about 12 hours a day. This was in the COVID days when everybody was ordering everything. It was out of control, just packages everywhere at this facility. Every single truck packed floor to ceiling. And so I'm there working every single day with all these people, and I'm telling them why we moved here, right? We moved here to plant a church so that people may know Jesus. You should come check it out. We'd love to have you, all this stuff. I'm telling them this, just about every day, every time I have an opportunity. And a couple people, they checked it out. But for the most part, nobody came. And the ones that checked it out, they came once, twice, maybe 4 or 5 times, and then they never came back. It was just an interesting time for sure in ministry and life with COVID going on. So I don't blame them, and it's just a season, right? But in that season, I was planting seeds even when I didn't realize it. And so fast forward, all right, I left FedEx in January of 2021. I had another job opportunity. A friend, he was starting up a company, wanted me to come with him. I'm like, let's do it, right? I'm already on this faith journey, jumping off the cliff. Let's see what happens. Let's go for it. So I do that, right? And so fast forward again, 4 years later, January 2025, at the time of recording this, it's February 8th of 2025. And so about a month ago, a guy I worked with, a manager who was a manager over me, he showed up at church one day. I didn't text him, email him, none of that stuff. call him, right? I haven't talked to him in 4 years since I left that place. And anyways, and it wasn't someone I thought would come. This is the crazy part. And he showed up at church one day and just said, yeah, I've been meaning to come check you guys out and come to church, man. I need this. And he's been coming for the last 4 weeks. And so to me, what a timely thing too, when we're talking about seasons, and we are going through Ecclesiastes right now as our church study. We just talked about seasons and where there's a season to plant and you don't know when it's going to be fruitful. And for me, with this instance was like, I didn't even know the seeds that I had planted then. And now here I am 4 years later, seeing some fruit for the first time, right? So again, some things just take time. Don't get discouraged that you're not seeing fruit right away. It'd be ridiculous if you went and bought some tomato seeds to plant some tomatoes, tomato bush, tomato plant. I don't know what it's called, but it would be ridiculous if you planted it today, watered it a little bit, and then tomorrow you're frustrated and upset because it's not growing, it's not bearing fruit, right? Or you planted it today, you watered it all week long, and on Sunday, it didn't have fruit, right? But we treat ministry that way sometimes, where it's like, man, I planted seeds, I watered the seeds, I prayed over it all, and Sunday came and I didn't see any fruit. Nick, what's wrong, right? We get discouraged. And again, we have to focus on faithfulness over fruitfulness in this season of planting specifically, because you will get very discouraged if you just keep looking for fruit and you don't see any. God has called you to be faithful. Leave the fruitfulness up to Him. All right, you be faithful. God will be fruitful in His time. Another way to thrive in this season, surround yourself with people who encourage you, believe in your vision, who have faith, who lift you up, right? When you can't see it sometimes, right? When you're getting frustrated, people will be like, no, hey, we're in this together. We got you. Let's keep going, keep grinding, because you need people in your life that are going to encourage you, lift you up. For me, my wife is that for me. She is such a, encourager to me. She believes in me, right? All my crazy ideas that I think are crazy, and like people are going to just think, what is he doing? My wife's like, that's not crazy. Like, you can do it. I believe in you. I believe God's called you to do it. And I believe whatever God's called you to do, I trust you with our family in that. And part of that was church planting. So surround yourself with people who believe in the vision that God has given you for the church, the ministry, whatever it is there. And number 3 in this season, pray for endurance. Pray for endurance, right? This season will test your patience. It will test your patience. But again, faithfulness in planting will lead to a harvest later. So again, focus on faithfulness over fruitfulness. All right, season 2, the season of growth. This is the exciting season that we all want, we all hope for, dream about. Some of you are in this season right now, or you just kind of came out of it and you're in a different season, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the season of growth, right? This is where momentum starts to build. There's this meshing of the team, right? The team's coming together. People are getting connected. New leaders are rising up. You're identifying people where you're like, I think they might have a gift for this, and you're starting to put them in place. And ministry just finally feels like it's where it should be, where you've envisioned it being for a long time, but it hasn't been there. The season of growth is like I feel like this is where we're supposed to be. And so this season has a lot of excitement. There's a lot of movement, a lot of new opportunities that are coming your way, for leadership wise, and also to the church, new opportunities to serve. There's more people coming to church, but with that, there's more responsibility, there's more complexity, and there's also more challenges in this. And so one of the temptations that comes up in the season of growth is overcommitting, and it causes us to burn out, right? And if you've missed last episode where we talked about burnout and some of the science and scriptures behind it, go check that out. But we don't want to be burnt out, all right? God hasn't called you to be burnt out. He's called you to be faithful. And sometimes being faithful in the season of growth is we got to realize we can't do it all. How can we empower others? And so the biggest struggle in the season of growth is trying to do everything yourself instead of empowering others. And also in the season of growth, forgetting to rest in the middle of the growth, because we think we got to just keep this up. If we stop now, take our foot off the gas, well, the growth is just going to stop, right? And again, we're not in charge of the growth. If you don't understand this yet, God is in control of this. God has called us to plant, to water, but God brings the growth. That's how it works, right? God brings the growth. So how can we thrive in the season of growth? Well, learn to delegate and develop leaders. That's number one, right? There's more people, there's more responsibility. You can't do it all by yourself. And so as it grows, you got to grow your leadership team, right? And start building a leadership team, start delegating who can do these tasks, and start teaching them. If they don't know how, but they want to, give them some opportunities to learn and grow themselves. And that's a huge discipleship moment within the church and leadership. And how can we stay thriving in this season? Well, stay rooted in your calling, right? Growth can be exciting. It can be exciting, but don't let the busyness, the growth, the numbers replace your intimacy with God. All right, so stay rooted to your calling, right? What has God called you to do? To plant a church, to be faithful, to preach His word so that people may know Him, right? So stay rooted to that calling. And number 3, how to thrive is protect your time in this season, right? As growth comes, there's more complexities, more challenges, more people are going to want more of your time, but protect your personal and your family time, right? Healthy leaders can help create healthy ministries, but if you're burnt out and you're stretched too thin, right, your ministry can suffer and your family and your personal life can suffer as well. So be careful in those. All right, that's the season of growth. Season number 3 that we'll talk about today is the season that nobody likes, but everybody needs, and it's the season of pruning. The season of pruning, right? This is when things slow down, start to shift a little bit, or even get taken away altogether. What this season looks like, right? A ministry loses momentum, faces some challenges because, again, we had some growth. Well, now we have more people, which means we have some more problems that we got to take care of, more issues that arise, leadership issues as well as one of those. And the ministry can start to lose some momentum, face some challenges. And in this season of pruning, people leave. Maybe it's people that were part of your church, people that were part of your leadership team. Right, people start to leave. And what it can also look like is God calls you to step away from something that you once thought was permanent and forever. And so maybe you had a ministry idea that this is what we're going to do, and God's just kind of shutting it down. He's pruning it away. And this is what pruning can look like. The biggest struggles that we'll see in this pruning season is feeling like you failed because things aren't growing like they once were, right? We feel like we failed, we've done something wrong, we must have messed up somewhere along the way because it's not growing like it was, and we start to take the blame, feel discouraged. And another thing that's a struggle in this season is trying to hold on to the things or the people that God's trying to remove. All right, so how can we thrive in the season of pruning? Well, trust that pruning is preparation for greater fruitfulness down the road. Jesus says in John 15:2, he says that God prunes every fruitful branch so that it can produce more. All right. And so a healthy tree, a healthy bush, a healthy fruit tree, if you will, let's just say an orange tree, right? We have to prune it, right? So that it can be more fruitful. And if we understand that with plants and nature, if that's something that's necessary. We don't know why all the time. Some people will tell you, gardeners might know how to explain this better than me, but we know that it's true that we got to prune it down so that it can grow healthier, bigger, stronger, more fruitful in the end. And so if we understand that with nature, why do we think it's different for us in ministry, right? We want to just keep growing, but we're growing wild. We got wild branches growing and all kinds of stuff going on. God's like, hey, we got to prune it down so that we can grow it even bigger than it is right now. And so trust that pruning is preparation for greater fruitfulness. And number 2, let go of what's not working, right? Pruning, right? If God's just trying to take it away, let it go. Let go of what's not working. Sometimes we try to hold on to programs, positions, or even people that God is moving out. And what I love about my pastor, Robert Furrow, Calvary Tucson, he was never afraid to backpedal, right? He's like, hey, we can try it out, right? When a staff member would say, hey, this ministry would be awesome, we should consider doing this, he'd say, yeah, let's go for it, right? Sometimes he'd say, let's pray about it. But then when you give the green light, let's go for it. Because in his mind too, he's like, we can always backtrack. He's never afraid to be like, you know what? That wasn't working, or that wasn't a good idea. Let's just backtrack, shut it down, right? So if God's shutting it down, let it go. Let it go. And number three, how can we thrive in this season? Refocus on your core mission, right? Use this season to reset, to realign, and prepare for what's next. Because as God's pruning us down, you have this temptation to feel like you've failed because it feels like it's not growing like it once was. But if we can realign, reset, recalibrate, if you will, in this season, like, man, I'm here, my faithfulness to you, God, that's what it's about. Fruitfulness will come when you want it to. And we can reignite that flame, that fervent spirit within us. Well, it will set us up for the next season. All right, season 4, we're going to talk about, this is maybe the greatest season of them all, and it's the season of harvest, the season of harvest, right? A little different than a season of growth. Growth is like, hey, we got an orange tree that's growing, but it's not having fruit yet. The season of harvest is like, hey, the fruit has come. It's time to pluck the fruit off the tree. And so we come to this season of harvest. This is when you see the fruit of your labor, and it's a sweet season. I mean, every season is sweet in its own way. But this is a sweet season to be able to see the fruit of your labor, people getting saved, receiving Jesus into their lives, right? Leaders are stepping up. They're coming up out of the woodworks and they're starting to thrive, and ministry is flourishing once again, and it's even stronger than it was in that season of growth. What this season can look like, right? There's just joy and gratitude. It's just like, yes, thank you, God. This is it, right? This is why we came out here to do what we're doing, right? And this might take years until you get to this season of harvest. But man, there's great joy, great gratitude. There's increased influence and impact that your church has. There's opportunities that you prayed for years ago that now are coming to light for the very first time. And it's just a season of sweet fruitfulness. The biggest struggles in this season is forgetting who the real source of success is, all right? So don't ever get confused thinking that you did it all, right? We don't bring the fruit. God does. We plant, we water, we're faithful in that. God brings the fruit. God is the God of life there. And so we forget who the real source of this whole success is. And sometimes we get confused with confusing what success looks like. And we think that it's a growing, harvesting ministry is success, when really, and you need to hear me out here, that faithfulness in ministry is success. Faithfulness, right? Whether or not fruit comes or not, that doesn't matter, right? Fruit could come years, 100 years after you've died and you've left this earth, right? We see even that kind of stuff with people that are famous today. Van Gogh, he wasn't a famous painter in his day, not like he is today. And it wasn't until years later, all of a sudden, everybody wants a Van Gogh painting, right? His influence increased later on. But anyways, I digress, is that we forget who the real source of success is. And we think that these numbers, oh man, we had so many baptisms, right? We had so many hands raised. These are good. Be joyful. Be grateful for these. This is good stuff. This is the fruit. But again, don't confuse it with thinking that it's something that you did. No, it's God who's done it. And he's chosen you as a vessel, which is a great thing, an opportunity, a privilege, an honor to be a vessel that he uses. But again, God is the source of growth. And another struggle is that pride creeps in. Pride creeps in. We think that we know it all, that we've established some things, and we get complacent, right? When we get complacent, we get stagnant. That's never a good place to be. So how can we thrive in this season? Some things that we can do in the season of harvest: stay humble. Stay humble and be grateful. At the moment you think that you've built this on your own, you're setting yourself up for failure. Don't think more of yourself than you ought to, right? It's not you who's doing the fruitfulness. It's God working through you. Another way to thrive in this season: pour into others. Keep pouring into others. This is a season to mentor people, young leaders, new leaders. Invest in them. Invest in their giftings. Give them opportunities to grow. And number 3 in this season, celebrate these wins, right? Hey, thank you, God, for this, that people are coming to know you finally, that we get to see a little fruit of everything that we're doing, that you're doing through us. But keep listening to God. Stay tuned to God, to his leading, right? Seasons change, and don't assume that harvest lasts forever, but be ready for whatever's next, because maybe you're in a season of harvest, but hey, a season of pruning may be coming up. Another season of planting may be coming up. So don't get comfortable. All right, so some final takeaways here on this show. What season are you in right now, right? Put it in, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, put it in the comments. What season are you in right now, right? Planting, right? If you're in that season of planting, stay faithful even when you don't see the results yet. Focus on faithfulness over fruitfulness. If you're in that season of growth, just focus on building strong systems, delegate to other people, protect your greatest asset, your time, your energy, your life. If you're in the season of pruning, trust that God is preparing you for something greater, right? Pruning is preparation for greater fruitfulness. And if you're in a season of harvest, celebrate the wins, be grateful, but stay humble and invest into others. All right, if you want to dive a little deeper into this, we're giving away a free resource on ministryhacks.com. I'll put the link in the show notes there, and you can go get this. It's a little Bible study type resource for you to reflect on the ministries that you're in, some scripture to go along with it, hopefully encourage you and help you thrive in whatever season you may be in. And if you aren't subscribed already, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you subscribe to the podcast to stay tuned for more things like this. And if you could, and you're blessed by this, make sure that you leave a rating and a review. It helps to beat the big tech algorithm there so that more people can hear things like this and hopefully be encouraged to learn, grow, and thrive in whatever season they face. And hey, if you know a friend, a pastor, a leader who could use something like this in their life, send them the link there, share it out with others, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.